Hello students, good afternoon. Welcome to the new session of Animal Kingdom. So, how you are all? Hope you are doing great. So, I'm your biology mentor Amit Singh and today we are going to study a new chapter, that is Animal Kingdom Part 1. Okay? So, let us start this session. So, this is the 7th day, right? And in this session, we are going to study about Animal Kingdom, that is part 1. So, what are we are going to study about in this session? That is first the basis of classification, of animals, right? Then we will start with phylum Porifera. We'll study about the characteristics of Porifera, the examples of Porifera, right? Similarly, we are going to study about the phylum Coelenterata, that is also called as Cnidaria, general characteristics and some examples. Then we will study the phylum Ctenophora, general characteristics of the Ctenophora and some of the examples. Then we will study the fourth phylum, that is phylum Platyhelminthes, and that is also called as flatworms. We will study about the general characteristics and some examples, right? Then we will have some previous year questions. Okay, so now if we talk about the weightage, if you see from the aspects of a NEET examination, then 4 to 5 questions comes from this chapter. So this chapter is quite important. So Animal Kingdom. So this is the table for the Whittaker classification system. And we see that it has been divided into 5 kingdom: Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So Animalia is at the last position. It shows that this is the most complex organism, right? So they are all eukaryotic. They are having the cells that are all eukaryotic. Cell wall is totally absent in the case of animals. Nuclear membrane, that is present, right? And tissue grade of system, organ grade of system and organ system we see in this body organization. Mode of nutrition, that is heterotrophic. They cannot make their own food, so they are dependent upon plants and other animals, right? So they are heterotrophic and they can be holozoic or saprophytic. Parasitic also. Some are parasitic also, right? So we will study the animal in this session. Okay. So general characteristics of animal. The first one is the multicellular. So animals are made up of more than one cell, right? They are made up of more than one cell. That is why they are called as multicellular. Eukaryotic. All the cells that are present in animal, they are membrane enclosed organelles. They are having membrane enclosed organelles and well organized nucleus. So the nucleus is having nuclear membrane, and inside the nuclear membrane the genetic material is present, right? So they are having nuclear membrane. And suppose this is a cell, then different cell organelles are present. Right? So membrane enclosed organelles as well as nucleus. So that is why they are having eukaryotic cell. Heterotrophic. Heterotrophic means they cannot make their own food. So animals eat other organisms to survive. They can eat plants, right? They can eat plants, they can eat animals, other animals, right? So they are heterotrophic. Okay, so all the individuals belongs to the kingdom Animalia comes under the metazoa. So we see this you can say cladistic. This is the metazoa. Now this metazoa, if we see this tree, then they are having the phyla Placozoa, Porifera, Mesozoa, and all other animals that comes here. That is in the Eumetazoa. So we are having the grading system also. So these two, the Placozoa and Porifera, together called as Parazoa, right? So what are Parazoa? Parazoa is a phylum of marine and free living organism. They are generally marine and free living organism. Free living organism, right? They are simple blob like animal without any body part or organ and merely aggregates of cells. So no organ grade of system is present here. In case of Porifera also, right? Only some organization of cell is there. Even the tissue has not been formed in the case of Porifera. Same with the Placozoa, right? So this Parazoa is a very lower grade of organism. Next is the Mesozoa. Mesozoa. Now, this Mesozoa are generally worm-like organism. These are the worm-like organism. Okay, worm-like organism, and they are parasite of the marine environment. And generally, these are tiny exclusive creature consist of somatoderm of the ciliated cells surrounding one or more reproductive cells. Right? So these are the Mesozoa. They are a worm-like organism. Generally, they are parasitic. So they are present in sea. Now comes the Eumetazoa. Eumetazoa. So they are having the neurons. They are having neurons. So well organized nervous system they are having. They are having neurons. And if we talk about what are the different organisms they constitute, then they constitute echinoderms. Echinoderms. Arthropods. Arthropods. Nematoda. Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes and mollusca and also annelida. So all these organisms comes under the Eumetazoa. Okay. Okay, so these are the phylum in our syllabus that we are going to study about one by one. Porifera, Coelenterata, that is also called as Cnidaria, Ctenophora, Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes, Annelida. Okay, there are some other, but in this session we are going to cover up these four phylum, that is Porifera, Coelenterata, Ctenophora and Platyhelminthes. The other phylums are Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata, Hemichordata and Chordata. And in Chordata we are having different classes, 5 different classes we are having. So that also we are going to cover up, right? So let us talk about the basis of classification, how the classification has been done for this animal, right? There are so many phylums. So how we have done this classification, right? So we are considering some of the very important characteristics, and based on those characteristics, the classification has been done, right? And the phylum, there are different phylum, 11 phylum we have just now seen in the previous slide. These phylums have their own basic characteristic, right? So what are those basic characteristics? Let us discuss about that. Level of organization. The first characteristic is the level of organization. Cellular level. In the level of organization, we are having the different level of organization. Cellular level, tissue level, organ and organ system. These 4 levels are there. So first is the cellular level. The cells are arranged as loose cell aggregates. So Porifera is a multicellular organism, right? But the cells do not unite together to perform a particular function according to the tissue. There is a particular function that is performed by the cells only, right? We will see in when we will discuss about the porifera phylum, then we will see there are different cells that perform different function, right? There are not tissue, they are not organ, and even no organ system. Only cells are arranged as a loose cells aggregates and they perform different functions. So we can say that this organism is having cellular level of organization, right? And the examples is the porifera. Next is the tissue level. Next is the tissue level. Now the cells performing the same functions are arranged into tissue. So the number of cells unite together and these cells are basically having the same structure and origin is same. Their origin is also same, right? So they form what? They form tissue. They form tissue. And these tissue are performing same function, right? So Coelenterata, that is also called as Cnidaria, and Ctenophora, these are the two phylum that are having showing the tissue level of organization, right? The individuals of these phylum are having tissue level of organization. Moving to the next type, that is the organ level, where tissues are grouped together to form organs. Now, different tissues unite together to form organ. So we can see different organs in platyhelminthes. So here the tissues are grouped together to form organ and each is specialized for the particular function. So we are having different organs for different functions. Different functions, right? Different organs for different functions. And this is the characteristic of what? Platyhelminthes phylum. So in the platyhelminthes, the individuals are having organ level of organization, right? Next is the fourth one, that is the organ system level of organization. It means that these individuals which are having the organ system level of organization are more complex, right? Organ have associated to form functional system and each system concerned with a specific physiological function. So we are having different organs, and these different organs form organ system, right? So if we talk about the excretory system, excretory system is having kidney, ureter, urinary bladder, right, and urethra. So 4 different organs unite together to form excretory system. Right? So in this way, these organisms, which organism? Aschelminthes and chordata, 2 chordata, right? They all are having organ system level of organization. So there will be different organ, they unite together to perform one specific function. Like here, the kidney, ureter and urinary bladder and urethra, these 4 different organs unite together to perform a function through excretory system, right? So this is the level of organization. Next is the digestive system, different type of digestive system they are having. So incomplete, and that has only a single opening to the outside of the body that serve as both mouth and anus. So there are some organisms that are having incomplete digestive system. Why it is called incomplete digestive system? Because they are having only one opening, single opening, right? So that serve as both mouth and anus. So they are very lower grade of organisms, such as examples are Coelenterata and Cnidaria. They are having only one opening. Ctenophora and Platyhelminthes also. So their digestive system are incomplete. In this way, you can learn that incomplete digestion is present in which organism? Coelenterata, Ctenophora and Platyhelminthes, right? Now, complete digestive system. Obviously, the organism that is having two opening, that is separate opening, mouth and anus, right? So food they take from the mouth and undigested food matter that is excreted out from the anus, right? So from Aschelminthes to Chordata, they are having complete digestive system. Okay. Now, if we talk about the circulatory system is again two types. First one is the open type, in which the blood is pumped out of the heart and the cells and tissues are directly bathed in it. Means if there is a heart, suppose this is a heart, it is pumping out the blood and all that blood is poured into the cavity of the body where they are having the tissue and cells. Okay, so there is no capillary, there is no artery, there is no vein type of system. Okay, so this is called as open type of system, right? Next type, the closed type of circulatory system. Now in this type, the blood is circulated through a series of vessels of varying diameters, arteries, veins and capillaries, right? So they are having these arteries, veins and capillaries attached to the heart and they are concerned for the circulation. They are circulating blood from heart to different tissue, different organs, and again they are collecting the deoxygenated blood from the different tissue and organ and pouring back to the heart. So such type of things if present in the circulatory system, then it is called as closed type of circulatory system. Okay, got it? So this is about the circulatory system. Two type of circulatory system, open type and closed type. Symmetry. Now this is very, very important. Symmetry. So there are three different types of symmetry: asymmetrical, radial symmetrical and bilateral symmetrical. So if there is no symmetry, then it is called as asymmetrical. You cannot divide the organism in two equal halves if the organism is not having any such type of organization, right? So that if they are having such type of organization, then it is having asymmetrical symmetry, no symmetry. For example, porifera. Now there are some organisms that you can divide it a number of plane. So if I cut this Cnidaria, right, jellyfish from this this line of cut, then it can divide this organism into two equal halves. And again I have one more this symmetry line which can cut or divide the organism into two equal halves like this, then it is radial symmetry. Similarly, I have number of this line that can divide the organism into two equal halves, right? Then it is called as radial symmetry. The third type is bilateral symmetry. Only one plane is there that can divide the organism into two equal halves. Two equal halves means they are having the same organs from the left side also and right side also. So bilateral symmetry, the best examples is the arthropoda. So three different level of symmetry are there. So the first one is, that is the asymmetrical. Any plane that passes through the center does not divide them into equal halves. So if you are taking a plane that you are planning to divide this organism from the center, you are not able to divide into two equal halves. So the best example is the porifera. The organism that belongs to the porifera are showing asymmetrical symmetry. Okay. Next is the radial type, radial symmetry. So when any plane passing through the central axis of the body divides the organism into two identical halves, right? You can divide the organism into two identical halves by number of planes. Then it is called as radial symmetry. Then it is called as radial symmetry. So some porifera also shows the radial symmetry. All the Coelenterata, that is Cnidaria, Ctenophora, right? And some Echinodermata, that is the starfish, that also shows the radial symmetry, right? So these are some of the examples that shows the radial symmetry. The third type is the bilateral symmetry, where the body can divide it into identical left and right, only two equal halves. Only one plane is there that can divide it into two equal halves, and that plane is passing through the center. So that is bilateral symmetry. So in this type of symmetry, the body can be divided into two equal halves by the single plane. This is very, very important. Single plane. And because the important body organs are paired, all the important body organs are paired. So they are present in the left side also, they are present in the right side also, right? And occur in the two sides of the central axis. So it is found in many invertebrates and vertebrates. So there are so many organisms that are showing the bilateral level of symmetry. Now germ layers. Next characteristic is the germ layer. So we are having the three different germ layers: ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. The ectoderm that forms the exoskeleton, right? Mesoderm, they form the different organs, and the endoderm that forms the inner lining of the organs. So we are having ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. Let us see this. Based on this ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm, the organism can be diploblastic or triploblastic. Now what are the organisms that are called as diploblastic? The animals which the cells are arranged in two embryonic layers. So ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. These are basically what? These are embryonic layers. Embryonic layers. So at the time of embryo formation, these layers arrange themselves and form organs, right? These layers arrange themselves and forms the different organs, right? So an external ectoderm and internal endoderm. So this is the external, that is ectoderm, and the internal one, that is the endoderm. So in diploblastic organism, only two layers are present: external ectoderm and internal endoderm. An undifferentiated layer, that is mesoglia. So this mesoglia is just a gelatinous substance. It is not a cellular cells. So don't get confused with the mesoderm. This is not a mesoderm layer, right? This mesoglia is not a mesoderm. It is just a gelatinous substance that is present between the ectoderm and endoderm, right? And it is present between the ectoderm and endoderm. And for the examples that are having the diploblastic, that is coelentrates and ctenophora. Coelentrates and ctenophora, they are having this diploblastic germ layers. Next is the triploblastic. Those animals in which the developing embryos has a third germinal layer, that is mesoderm in between the ectoderm and endoderm, right? So they are having ecto, outer side, ectoderm, outer side, mesoderm. Now mesoderm here, it is not a mesoglia. They are having a well organized cells, right? Cells, and they form a layer that is called as mesoderm. This is present in middle, and innermost, that is endoderm, inner side, inner side. So this, in this way, the triploblastic animals, the embryo is having the different layer, 3 different layers, that is the ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm, right? So here you can see in diploblastic, outermost, that is the ectoderm. Here this is the innermost, that is the endoderm, and this pink color, that is the mesoglia. So here no cells. This is not a cell, this is just a gelatinous substance, right? Now if you see the triploblastic, then they are having ectoderm, outer side, these are different cells, right? And same way, endoderm, they are cells. But now here you can see the mesoderms are also having a layer of cells. So that is why it is called as triploblastic. Presence of coelom. Coelom means body cavity. Body cavity. Right? So presence or absence of a cavity between the body wall and the gut wall is very important in the classification. So if you just see about, I'm just drawing a man having the gut and the body. So this is the pharynx or esophagus. This is the stomach, right? And then comes the small intestine and large intestine, like this. So this is the gut wall, right? And they are having a body wall also. Suppose this is the body wall. Now in between this body wall and gut wall, this is the body wall and this is the gut wall. What is present? This is a cavity. This is a cavity. And in this cavity, different organs are present, right? Heart is present, lungs is present, right? So the presence or absence of a cavity, either the cavity will be present or it will be absent. So the presence or the absence of cavity between the body wall and gut wall is very important in the classification. The body cavity which is lined by the mesoderm is called coelom. So always the body cavity, if it is a true coelom, then it will be lined by the mesoderm. This is very, very important point, and it has been asked many times in the examination. So the true coelom is having, it is lined by the mesoderm layer. So this is the showing body cavity. So the presence of coelom, so the organism will be called as coelomate if they are having the body cavity, right? Body cavity or coelom, then it will be called as coelomate, the animal possessing coelom. For example, platyhelminthes. Now they are having pseudo coelomates also. In some animals, the body cavity is not lined by the mesoderm, right? Instead, the mesoderm is present as scattered pouches in between the ectoderm and endoderm. Such body cavity is called as pseudocoelom. And the best example, the phylum that shows the pseudocoelomates is the Aschelminthes, right? Very, very important point. So do remember this, that pseudocoelomates, the organisms that belongs to the phylum Aschelminthes, are pseudocoelomates because they do have the body cavity, but their body cavity is not lined by the mesoderm layer, and that is why it is called as pseudocoelomates. They are having scattered pouches, right? The cavity is present as a scattered pouches, right? So please do remember this, pseudocoelomates. And there are some organisms that do not contain any body cavity. So the animals which the body cavity is totally absent. So sponges, cnidarians, ctenophora and flatworms, right? So it started from the porifera and platyhelminthes, that is the flatworms. They do not have any true coelom, right? So there is acoelomates, they are having pseudocoelomates and coelomates, that is having true coelom, right? So acoelomate examples, it started from porifera to platyhelminthes, and pseudocoelomate, single phylum, Aschelminthes, right? And coelomates that it started from Annelida. It started from Annelida to Chordata. Some exceptions can be there, right? But this is the way to remember. Acoelomate, from porifera to platyhelminthes, there is no organism that is having true coelom or the body cavity, right? Pseudocoelomate, single phylum, Aschelminthes, and coelomates, that is the true coelom, body cavity is present from Annelida to Chordata, right? Okay, so here you can see the coeloms in animal, right? Acoelomates, that is, and pseudocoelomates, that is the roundworms, and coelomate, mollusk, annelids, arthropods, echinoderms, and chordates, right? Segmentation. An organism will be considered as a segmented if it can be divided into two equal halves and parts, and known as segmentation. So there are many organisms that are having segmented body. Best example is the organism that belongs to the phylum Arthropoda, right? So the segmentation can be of metamerism type. The body is externally as well as internally divided into segments with a serial repetition of at least some organ. Means every segment is having same organism, same organs, not organism, same organs. For example, Annelida, that is the earthworm, and Arthropoda, they are showing metamerism. Each segment is having the repetition of organs, and their segment is from outside also and inside also. So that is a very peculiar characteristic that belongs to the organism Annelida and Arthropoda. Notochord. Notochord is a mesodermally derived rod-like structure. So the notochord, it is very important organ that has been developed from which germ layer? Mesodermal origin, that is having notochord, right? And they are flexible, formed on the dorsal side during the embryonic development in some animals. Like in chordates, animals with notochord, for example, all the chordata, and non-chordates, animal without notochord, from porifera to hemichordata. This is the very, very important. Chordates and non-chordate, presence and absence of notochord. So here you can see the Animalia kingdom, level of organization, cellular level. that is showing the porifera. Tissue, organ and organ system, Coelenterata, right? Platyhelminthes, Escalmenthes, and from Annelida to the Chordata, right? And they are having symmetry, that is the radial type, and bilateral. Radial symmetry that is present in the Coelenterata and Ctenophora, and asymmetry, no symmetry, is present in the case of porifera. Bilateral, that is present in Platyhelminthes, Escalmenthes, and from Annelida to the Chordata. Body cavity, that is the presence or absence of coelom. Without body cavity, acoelomates, that is the Platyhelminthes. And the above these two are also, these three in fact, porifera, Coelenterata and Ctenophora, these are also not having any coelom, right? So, and in the case of worms, if we talk about this Platyhelminthes, the first one, that is acoelomate, and pseudocoelomate, single one, that is Escalmenthes. And here from the Annelida to the Chordata, they are having true coelom, and that is why these organisms are also called as coelomates. Okay. So let us discuss about the first phylum, that is porifera. So they are the pore bearing animals known as sponges. They are having pores, small holes, and that is why they are called as sponges, and have cellular level of organization, division of labor. We can see in at the cellular level, right? No tissue level, no organ system is present. Only cells are present. So they are all aquatic, mostly marine, with exception Spongilla. So this species, Spongilla, it is a freshwater sponge, right? So this you must remember, this Spongilla. So they are mostly asymmetrical animals. So now you can understand, now I'm talking about asymmetrical, means no symmetry. So earlier we have studied all those general characteristics, and on those characteristics only the organism has been classified, right? So mostly they are asymmetrical, no symmetry is present. These are primitive multicellular animals. Now here you can see they are having small holes on their body surface, small holes on the body surface, that is called as ostia. And there is one opening here, that is called as osculum. So unique to this organism is the presence of water transport or canal system. So here you can see from the ostia, water comes inside like this, right? And in this, along with this water, oxygen is there and food particles are also there. And here you can see some cells, that is called as coinocytes, like this. So these cells capture the food material, right? They capture the food material. So here you can see the cavity of this spongocoel. This cavity, this is the cavity. This is called as spongocoel. Do not get confused with the body cavity, that is the coelom, right? This is not a coelom. This is outer body cavity, right? So this is not a coelom. Don't get confused that spongocoel is the body cavity or a coelom, right? So this ostia, from the ostia, water move inside having lots of oxygen and food particle. And this special cell, coinocytes, they take these food particles and have digestion. So water enter through the minute pores, that is ostia, in the body wall into the central cavity, which is called as spongocoel, from where it goes through the osculum. So osculum is the outer opening. This is outer opening. And water move inside the body of the poriferans through ostia. Water canal system help in the food gathering, respiratory exchange, and the removal of waste. I have already discussed about this, that the water canal system, right? They are having food also, and as well as the oxygen for gaseous exchange. Coinocytes, or the collar cells, that line the spongocoel and the canal. So they are concerned for what? They are concerned for the digestion, right? And this digestion is intracellular, and that happened with the help of coinocyte cells. The body is supported by the skeleton made up of spicules or the spongin fibers. So many spicules or the spongin fibers like this of the different shapes are present, right? And that forms the skeleton of the poriferans. Sexes are not separate. It means hermaphrodite. Both the male sex organ and the female sex organs are present inside one individual only. So the eggs and the sperms are produced by the same individual. And such individual that produce both egg and sperm are called as hermaphrodite. Sponges reproduce asexually by the fragmentation method and sexually by forming the gametes. So, fertilization is internal and development is indirect. Indirect means they form larva. They form larva. So, when the organism form larva, its development is called as indirect, right? So, they are having the larval stage which is morphologically distinct from the adult. Means it is quite different from the adult. So, here are some of the examples. Cycon, that is also known as Scypha, Spongilla, freshwater sponge, and Euspongia, that is also called as bath sponge. So, 3 examples that you must remember. Next phylum is the Coelenterata or Cnidaria. They are aquatic, mostly marine except freshwater hydra. So all the organisms that belongs to this phylum are exclusively marine, but a single phylum, that is single individual, that is hydra, is a freshwater. And they are also showing the radial symmetry. Cnidarian exhibit tissue level of organization and are diploblastic, means ectoderm and endoderm layer is there, no mesoderm. Instead of mesoderm, they are having gelatinous substance, mesoglia, right? So they are diploblastic and they are having tissue level of organization. Now this phylum, Porifera, cellular level of organization, and this is having the tissue level of organization. Either solitary, that is in the case of hydra, sometimes they are present in the colonial form, number of organisms present in a colony, that is example Physalia, Gorgonia and Obelia. Sessile, sessile means it is not attached to any substratum, right? As in the case of hydra, it is always attached to the substratum, right? And this sessile means free floating. Aurelia, that is also known as jellyfish. The name Cnidaria is derived from the cnidoblast. Now, as in the case of Porifera, the coinocyte cell is very, very important. Now, in the Cnidaria, this cnidoblast cell is very important. Cnidocytes, which contain the stinging capsule, nematocytes present on the tentacles and the body. So, here you can see. This is the capsule region. Now there is a shaft and this is the shaft. This is the operculum. Operculum is closed here when the cnidoblast is closed. This is the closed. And when any danger is there, any organism that could harm the organism, then what happens? This cnidoblast take out is tube-like structure, right? And this tube-like structures release some chemical toxin substance that can kill that organism, right? So this Cnidaria names come from this a special cell that is called as cnidoblast cells or the cnidocytes. The cnidoblasts are used for the anchorage, defense and capture of the prey. So this is used for the defense mechanism and also to capture some prey. Sometimes this cell is also used to get anchorage to some substratum, right? So this is very, very important cell, and that is the cnidoblast cell, and it is a peculiar cell that is present in the phylum Cnidaria. On exposure to the prey, the cnidoblast release a structure known as thread tube, which will release hypnotoxin and that can kill that prey. So that prey that can be eaten by this cnidarians. So this is used for capturing the prey. They have central gastrovascular cavity, also known as paragastric cavity, with a single opening, mouth or hypostome. So again, this is having single opening, incomplete digestive system, right? So digestion is extracellular as well as intracellular. Sometimes they take digested food from the outside, and sometimes they take food inside their body cavity, and there they digest that. Some cnidarians, example corals, have a skeleton composed of calcium carbonate. So corals, they are deposition of the calcium carbonate, and they are some stone-like, right? But actually they are the cnidarians, and they become stone-like because the deposition of calcium carbonate. So cnidarians exhibit two basic body forms, very important, polyp and medusa, right? So polyp, if I talk about the polyp, so they are like this, cylindrical shape. And if I talk about the medusa, then they are this, like this, umbrella shape, right? So polyp are sessile and cylindrical form, like we can see in the case of hydra and Adamsia. Whereas in the case of medusa, it is umbrella shaped, and they are free swimming like Aurelia and jellyfish. Okay, so this is the two form, that is polyp and medusa. Those cnidarian which exhibit both the forms exhibit alternation of generation, that is metagenesis, also known as alternation of generation. So there are some organisms that shows the alternation of generation, means in their life cycle they show both the forms, that is polyp as well as medusa, right? So polyp produce medusa, and asexually by asexual method, means polyp is producing medusa stage by the asexual method, and medusa forms the polyp by sexual method. So this is very, very important. Like some organism like polyp, only polyp, that is shown by the hydra. But there are some organisms that are showing both the polyp and medusa in their life cycle. For example, Obelia and Physalia. And this point you must remember that polyp can produce medusa stage by asexual method, and medusa can develop the polyp form by sexual method, right? Now, Physalia, these are some of the examples of the Coelenterata, right? So it is commonly called as Portuguese man of war. This is very, very important. And in match the following type of question it can be asked. So you must remember the common name as well as the scientific name. Physalia, called as Portuguese man of war. Adamsia, also known as sea anemone, commonly known as sea anemone. Pennatula, commonly known as sea pan. Gorgonia, commonly known as sea fan. And Meandrina, commonly known as brain coral. So do remember the scientific name as well as common name. Now, next phylum is the Ctenophora. So ctenophores, commonly known as sea walnut. They are commonly known as sea walnuts, and they are also called as comb jellies or comb bearer, are exclusively marine. So all the organisms, they are exclusively marine, and they are showing the radial symmetry. Diploblastic, only ectoderm and endoderm is layer is present, no mesoderm. Okay, and they are having tissue level of organization. So still no organ level of organization has been started till yet. The body bears 8 external rows of ciliates. So if I draw a Ctenophora, then they are having like this: 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So they are having a flagella attached to this. They are having not flagella, cilia, like this. So 8 external rows of cilia are present, like this. So body bears 8 external rows of ciliated comb plates which help in locomotion. This is very, very important for this phylum. They has tentacles which contain coloblast cells, also called as lasso cells, help in encourage. So this coloblast cell, this can be asked in the examination. So coloblast cells is present in which phylum? So they can give 4 different phylums. So you must remember this coloblast cells, also commonly called as lasso cells. This is present in phylum Ctenophora. Digestion is both extracellular as well as intracellular, and nidoblast cell is absent. So where it is present? Nidoblast is a very important cell that is present in the phylum Coelenterata, right? It has a balancing organ, that is statocyst. So there is an organ that is concerned for the balancing of the organism. So that organ is called as statocyst, and it is present in Ctenophora. Bioluminescence, the property of the living organism that emit light. So they emit light. You can see in the night these Ctenophora in the sea. So they are well marked in ctenophores, this bioluminescence. Sexes are not separate, so they are hermaphrodite, means male sex organs and the female sex organs is present in the same individual, but they are having sexual reproduction. Fertilization is external and without indirect development, means no larval stage is present in the case of Ctenophora. Examples are Pleurobrachia and Ctenophora. So here you can see the 8 rows. So this is the 8 rows that is having cilia. The example are, 2 examples are there in the NCERT. So you must remember that Pleurobrachia and Ctenophora. Now the fourth and the last phylum for today is the Platyhelminthes. So Platyhelminthes, why they are called as Platyhelminthes? Because they are very flat. Like this, they are flat. So the dorsal surface, upper is the dorsal surface and the lower is the ventral surface. So they are dorso-ventrally flattened body. So their body is dorso-ventrally flattened, and hence they are called as flatworms. That is why they are called as flatworm, because they are very flat, right? And this name indicate this platy. Platy means flat, and helminthes means worms. So they are called as flatworms commonly. Their body is dorso-ventrally flattened because they are having the dorsal surface and ventral surface. They are mostly endoparasite found in the animals, including the human beings. Some are free living. Example, Dujacia, that is commonly known as planaria. So you must have studied in the class 10th, that is planaria, showing the process of regeneration. If you cut this planaria in 3 parts like this, each part will develop a new planaria. Each part will develop new planaria, right? So that its scientific name is Dujacia, right? So this is the most, this phylum constitute mostly the endoparasite, and some are endoparasite to the human beings also. Flatworms are the first phylum to show the bilaterally symmetrical. From here, the bilaterally symmetrical organisms comes, right? And they are triploblastic. Triploblastic means ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm are present. And the only phylum that is showing acoelomate, which are acoelomate animal and has organ level of organization, right? Hooks and suckers are present in the parasitic forms. So they are having hooks to get attached to the surface, and they are having suckers like this. Right? So they are having hooks and suckers. So these are hooks and these are the suckers. So they are parasitic form and they get adhesion and food indigestion. Some of them absorb nutrient, digested food. They do not have well developed digestive system, right? So they get their food directly through their body surface from the host. Say, so they do not have digestive canal. Very, very important point for this platyhelminthes, right? They do not have any digestive canal. Specialized cells, that is called as flame cells, solenocytes, protonephridia, helps in osmoregulation and excretion. So this is very, very important that they are having very special cells, that is called as flame cells. In some organism it is called as solenocyte, and in other organism it is again called as protonephridia, but their functions are all same, that is osmoregulation and excretion. So they do have excretory system, but they do not have well developed digestive system. So how they take food? They take food from the host, from general body surface. All cavity in the cell, since they are acoelomate, are filled with the parenchyma, also help in the food transport. So their body cavity, right? They are having the parenchyma, and they are having, sexes are not separate. So they are having both the male and female sex organ in the same individual. So they are also hermaphrodite. Hermaphrodite. Fertilization is internal and development is through many larval stage. So which of the phylum organism showing many larval stage? So you must remember phylum Platyhelminthes. Like this the question can be asked. So here the planaria possessing the high regeneration capacity, and taenia, this is the example, taenia, tapeworm, commonly called as tapeworm. Also fasciola, liver fluke. Okay, so this is 3 example that is present in your NCERT, right? So you must remember this. Okay, let us have some questions. So which of the following animals are true coelomates, right? True coelomates with bilateral symmetry. So adult echinoderms, escalmanthes, right? Platyhelminthes and annelids. So annelids are showing the true coelomate. These are the true coelomates, right, with bilateral symmetry. This is showing the bilateral symmetry. Now this platyhelminthes are pseudocoelomate. This is the pseudocoelomate, right, and also showing the bilateral symmetry. Escalmanthes is showing true coelomates, no acoelomate. It is acoelomate, right? This is showing acoelomate. So which one is the correct? This annelids, that is the having, these are the coelomates and bilateral symmetry. So true coelom is shown by the annelids, and they are also having the bilateral symmetry. Next question. Which one of the following kinds of animals are triploblastic? Triploblastic means ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. All the 3 layers are present. So flatworms, sponges, ctenophoras and corals, right? So this ctenophora and corals, these are diploblastic. These are diploblastic, right? Sponges, no arrangement of the layer is there. They are also diploblastic, right? And this flatworms, they are triploblastic. So first time triploblastic, first time this phylum is showing the triploblastic. So flatworms, that is the platyhelminthes, right? So platyhelminthes phylum is showing, and examples are the flatworms. Next question. Which of the following animals have the scattered cells with the cell tissue grade of organization. So sponge, hydra, liver fluke and ascaris. So if we talk about the hydra, it is having the tissue level of organization. Liver fluke and ascaris, liver fluke belongs to the platyhelminthes and ascaris belong to the escalanthes, right? And these both showing the organ level of organization, organ level of organization. So this one, first phylum, porifera, example sponge, they are having cell level of organization, right? So this cell tissue level of organization. So it is asked tissue level of organization. Sponges are having the cell level of organization, and the cell tissue grade means they are having well developed tissue. So this hydra is the correct level of correct answer, that is showing the cell tissue level of organization. Cell tissue level of organization. Next question. Bilaterally symmetrical and acoelomate animals are exemplified as. So Ctenophora, Escalmenthes, Platyhelminthes and Annelida. So this Ctenophora is having radial, it is having radial and they are acoelomate. Acoelomate. Right? Acoelomate. Escalmenthes, bilateral symmetry, it is showing bilateral, and this is pseudocoelomate. Next is the platyhelminthes. Again, this is again bilateral and this is showing acoelomate. Annelida, it is also showing the bilateral, but it is having true coelom. So the bilateral symmetry and acoelomate, is shown by the platyhelminthes. So this is the correct answer. Next question. In case of poriferans, the spongocoel is lined with flagellated cells. So you have to remember this flagellated cell. Oscula, coinocyte, mesenchymal cells, ostia. So oscula and ostia, that is the opening, right? So they are not any cells type. Mesenchymal cells, it is present in the middle part. But the spongocoel is lined by the collar shape. This is the shape of the cell, collar, having the cell that is collar and also the flagella. So the coinocytes. This is the correct answer. Poriferans is having the spongocoel lined by the flagellated cell, right? That is called as coinocytes. Okay. So I am giving you some of the question. You can note down and you can practice this, right? So it has been asked in some of the examination, like this one is in the year 2005. So you can note down this question. In contrast to annelids, the platyhelminthes shows A, absence of body cavity, B, bilateral symmetry, C, radial symmetry, D, presence of pseudocoel. So you can note down this question. Next question. The formation of canal system in sponges is due to, first, presence of inner walls, B, gastrovascular system, C, reproduction, and D, porous walls. So note down this and you can solve this question. The formation of canal system in sponges is due to A, folding of inner walls, B, gastrovascular system, C, reproduction, and D, porous wall. Moving to the next question. Consider the following characteristics of porifers. Which of these can be regarded as cynoepomorphies of porifera? So this is showing the evolutionary relationship, right? So consider the following characteristics of the porifera. Which of these can be regarded as a characteristic that showing the evolutionary relationship of porifera? Cynomorphism means that. Okay. So A, collared cells called as coinocytes. B, canal system with pores, ostia in the body wall. C, mineral spicules. And D, high cellular mobility and totipotency. So please note down this question. Okay, moving to the next question. Coelom is lined on all sides by ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, ectoderm and endoderm. Very important question. Coelom is lined on all sides by ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm, ectoderm and endoderm. Okay. So the last question. Which of the following kinds of animals are triploblastic? Flatworms, sponges, ctenophores and the D1 is corals. Again I am repeating, which one of the following kinds of animals are triploblastic? Flatworms, sponges, ctenophores and corals. So this is all for today, right? We will have some more session to complete this chapter. Okay, so please do take care of yourself and thank you very much.